Hi guys, welcome back to another one of my videos. My goodness, has it been a day. I do not know what's going on with the weather right now, but we have had these major fluctuations of cold and then warm and then cold and then warm, and it just can't seem to make up its mind. It's kind of driving my allergies up the wall. If my voice sounds off a little bit, I do apologize. So November. It is literally less than a week away. I cannot believe the year is almost over. Sometimes it feels like the days themselves are going by so slowly, yet at the same time, the year feels like it has went by so fast, if that makes sense. Like long days, but like a short year. My plan for November is to try to get 10 books in. I want to test myself a little bit. On average, it seems the last several months, I've been getting close to 9 books a month in, which is awesome. So I just want to give it a touch more and see if we can get to 10 books. There's 5 books that I know for sure that I want to read in November. And so I'm going to talk about those. And then I figured we would let my TBR jar pick the last 5. The first 5, I was really going for some cozy holiday Thanksgiving sort of fall vibe. Something that was just going to be so achingly sweet that's going to give me a toothache reading it. That's kind of what I'm going for. However, I do love my dark romance books, my dark fantasy, my dark academia, things like that. So I know that I'm not going to be able to read nothing but sweet, fluffy books for the entire month. I do have to break it up a little bit. I try to do my best to intermix a little bit so that I can give each book the best chance that I feel like I can give it. Let's go ahead and talk about the books I know for sure I do want to read, and then we're gonna get to the TBR after that. I love my Diet Dr. Pepper. You'll probably see one in just about every single video. I do. I just love my soda. All right, so first off, I'm going to start with the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Okay, this is book 2 in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe series. This is book 1 right here. I read that one in October, I'm not going to really touch on that because you'll be hearing about that in the books that I read in October. So I definitely want to continue on with the series, and so I want to read the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. This is following Noah and Hazel's story, and you kind of get introduced to them and know a little bit about them and what's going on. In the first book, I kind of know who these characters are, and so I'm kind of excited to get back into this world, get back into the story, and it definitely gives me some nice November Thanksgiving fall vibes. Of course, I don't want to touch too much about the story of this book because it is very much a continuation of a series, and I feel like if I say too much that it's going to give stuff away. But I can tell you that that Hazel owns and operates a bookstore, and Noah he owns like a fishing boat rental thing. I'm not exactly sure all the details about exactly what he does, but he owns some kind of a fishing business, and it's their story. Next, I'm gonna read Stuffed by Jessica Gazilla. And I'm so sorry, I probably butchered that name. I do apologize. Now, this book just sounds super cute. And check this out, you guys. It is so small. I have not read a book this small in a while. I know that in September, I listened to a story that it was like a 3-hour listen. So I'm assuming that, if it would have been a book, it would have been roughly the same size as this. But it's been a long time since I've actually read a physical book this small. In fact, I had purchased this off Amazon and it came in the mail today, and I was shocked by how small it was. It goes to show I didn't pay attention to the pages. So the preface of this story is you have a girl, which I don't even know her name. The whole back doesn't tell you her name at all. So anyways, you have this girl who comes home for the holidays. She is helping her family with Thanksgiving, and she meets up with an old crush that she had from her younger years, and she's determined to prove to him, to her family, and even to herself that she's not the same geeky girl that she was before she left for college. And I'm assuming some things must have happened because they seem to have been, from my understanding, pretty intense with each other right before she went to college. So there's definitely going to be some history and some drama there. I'm here for it. And it's all revolving around her coming home for Thanksgiving, for the Thanksgiving holidays, and being with family. And so it's definitely going to give me that Thanksgiving feel. So, and I don't know why, but I just love the cover. The next book, book 3, is Fall I Want. Now this one, I was just looking things up, and Amazon actually recommended this to me. And so I was like, okay. And so I looked it up. It sounds good. So it almost seems like you're going to have a little bit of the whole fake dating trope in this one. So basically how I understand it is she's like someone with a lot of money, and she visits this small little town to escape her life, to escape what she, the things that she's been going through. And she meets this guy. Originally, they don't get along very well, and their first couple of meetings are pretty horrible. But then just randomly one day they get together again, and they actually have an okay time, and they're laughing and stuff. And in the midst of this happening, her ex-boyfriend shows up, and in a panic, he, I guess, ends up pretending to be her boyfriend in order to help her out. And then it kind of just progresses from there. They just keep getting thrown together. It just gives me some nice, awesome, cozy fall Thanksgiving vibes. Love is brewing in Cozy Creek, where falling leaves lead to falling in love. Okay, next we have Pumpkin Spice Meltdown, written by Kate Minty. Now, I don't have the physical copy of the book in my hands right now. It is something that I purchased on Amazon, and for whatever reason, it just hasn't gotten here yet. The order times of when it's supposed to get here just keep fluctuating, and I just couldn't wait any longer. I needed to get this video filmed and up for you guys, so I'm just gonna have the title of it up here. You got this girl who flies pretty much across the world to start a new life with her boyfriend, just to land and find out that the guy is married, has a whole other family. She goes home, she's sleeping on her mom's couch, she's binge eating, obviously very upset. Anyways, she agrees to be in charge of her family's big Thanksgiving shindig, in charge of all of its prep and things like that. In the midst of all of this, I think in a way to try to tell everybody and herself that she's okay. And of course, she ends up getting the help from a close family friend who just also happens to be very hot. She's determined to show him, to show herself, and to show everybody around her that she has everything put together, even though she completely doesn't. According to Amazon, the book is supposed to be here on the 3rd of November. Let's hope. But in the meantime, I will have plenty of books. It will get here sometime in November, so I do know I will get around to it. It just, when exactly is anybody's guess. Okay, and the last book I have planned, this one was interesting. It's called Kindling by Bonnie Woods. And, I just randomly saw it at Walmart the other day. I had no plans for it. I was good with the other books that I had planned to read, but my husband, being the loving man that he is, I don't even have to say anything. He just automatically heads straight to the book department so that I can look at books. That's just how in tune he is to me. And shout out to him. I've got the best husband in the world, and I just love him to pieces. But anyways, I saw this and I loved it. Somehow this girl is thinking that she's going to some Highland retreat resort, and she's this big city girl, and she's like, I just need a break from the city. What better than a Highland retreat? But somehow something goes awry, something happens, and she ends up in the forest, in the middle of nowhere, and has nowhere to stay. In comes Fraser. And he has a cabin in the woods where he just kind of stays away from people. And he's like a local woodcutter, and he feels sorry for her. And so he offers her a place to stay in his cabin. It's under one condition. She can stay as long as she doesn't interfere with his duties, get in his way, distract him, disturb him in any way. But of course, as we can guess, as we know, that doesn't pan out. He finds himself unable to ignore this beautiful woman, and she finds herself falling for him, watching him cut wood and do all the things that he does. And so sparks fly with the seasons of the leaves. It sounds really good. And they couldn't be more polar opposite. And I think that's part of the charm of this book. It even says, one grumpy Scottish woodsman, one uprooted city girl, one autumn that changes everything. Okay, now that we got those 5 books out of the way, let's go ahead and TBR the last 5 and let's see what we get. All right, the first book out of the TBR jar. It's a thick one. I added some like fall Thanksgiving-y type TBR prompts to my TBR jar. And after I did it, I was thinking, oh great, what happens if I don't get any of them and then I get them like later on in like next year or something, you know? And it's like, well, if that happens, then I can just change it up a little bit, maybe, you know, have it more catered to something in the new month or whatever that I end up in at the time. So it won't be too hard to change a little bit, I'm thinking. All right, let's see what we got. Okay. Read a book that matches your favorite fall beverage. Okay, well, my favorite fall beverage would definitely have to be the pumpkin spice latte. So we're gonna have to go with some kind of background that has like orange to it. Let's go find something. Okay, so my pick is Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. This is book 2 in the Rose Hill series. It's been forever since I read book 1, which was Wild Love. So, now I do remember book 1. So I do know that the MMC of this book is Weston Belmont, who is the brother of the FMC in book 1. I'm excited about this one. This one definitely has single daddy vibes. Skylar Stone, who's like a top chart country singer who has had some bad press. And so she comes to Rose Hill and then she meets Weston Belmont. That's pretty much all I know about this. So I am excited. I did love Weston right off the bat from book 1. He was one of my favorite characters. So getting to read his story is going to be nice. And it is going to be good to get back into the Rose Hill series because, again, it's been a while since I read the first book. And you guys, the amount of series that I have to complete, that I've started but haven't finished, is astronomical. So many series that I have to finish, you guys. It's crazy. All right, our next prompt number 2. Okay. The 10th book on your shelf. Okay. I see the 10th book on my shelf. The problem is that I'm in a very small space and I've had to get very, very creative with my books. And so sometimes it feels like I'm playing Jenga, and the book that I need to grab is holding so many other books up. So this is going to take me a minute. Wish me luck. So remember how I told you guys to wish me luck? I had a massive cave-in of my books. I apparently am not very good at Jenga. I have a vague memory playing Jenga as a kid, and I was always on the top of the tower. I did my best. Luckily, all my books are okay. One of these days, you guys, I'm just gonna have to show you guys what I plan to do. I have a bookshelf coming. This thing has got my kids' lightsabers stored in it. And I'm going to be getting a bookshelf it's gonna be like a little corner bookshelf that's gonna hold a bunch of my books on it. I think when I get that, I'll just bring you guys along with me and we can organize together and I can kind of show you guys my system of tiny house living as a booktuber. We live in a tiny place, and so you really have to get inventive with your books. But yeah, luckily all my books are okay, but everything is a disaster behind this screen. Good thing you guys can't see it. Unfortunately, I can. 10th book on my shelf, The Shield of Sparrows. And I've been wanting to get to this book. Now, I have heard some different things. Some people absolutely love this. They saw it 5 stars. Some people thought that it was a bit boring, that the story premise had a lot to it, but it disappointed them and it really went nowhere. It just sounds good to me. Being the sparrow isn't an honor, it's a trap. Apparently, this land is plagued by monsters that the gods cursed the land with a long time ago. And the main FMC of this book, she is a princess who gets forced to marry a prince from another kingdom. And so she's married to him, and then she's sent off to go live in this new kingdom. And there she learns that she really didn't know anything that she thought she knew. And that's pretty much all I know about this book. I've been very careful with spoilers because, like I said, there's so many people that are back and forth, like it, don't like it, things like that. It's a pretty thick one, but it's been on my TBR for a while too. At least half of the year, I think, something like that. So I'm actually excited to get into it. All right, book 3. Get a good mix. And some of them feel like they're maybe mixed in to... some fell out. I'm not picking the ones that fell out, so I'm just gonna stick those back in there because I had my hand on this. I think this is the one one of the ones I put in here today. Okay, read a book which has autumn colors on its cover or takes place in nature. So autumn covers or nature. I'm gonna have to look at some of my books that fell too. Okay, so after looking at all my books, I found one that kind of had some fall colors to it. Chosen Flameborn, or is it Flame Chosen Born? I don't know. I'm thinking Flameborn Chosen, I think is what the title is. Flameborn Chosen by Emmy Lynn. So this is a story about a girl named Bren who her journey starts with her love, and he just became a Fury Knight, which I'm assuming is like a dragon rider. And so she sneaks out one night to meet him before he has to leave to journey away. And she finds that he's betrayed her somehow. I'm assuming she probably finds him with another woman or something. That would be my guess. And she's so distraught, so upset, right? She's lowborn, really nothing to her family name. So she climbs this mountain and decides that she's going to take her own life. And just as she was getting ready to basically jump off a cliff, she gets saved by a dragon, and they end up bonding, like the first ever female Flameborn. And she has to leave and go and do all of this training and stuff. And of course, you can imagine she's not very warmly welcomed. Her existence is a breach of century-old traditions and yada yada. Of course, because the dragons embrace her, they have no choice but to accept her and train her. And of course, then you've got who I'm assuming to be the MMC of the book, Commander Donovan. And he is the only one that seems to accept her because he knows that dragons never make mistakes. And so if the dragons chose her, they chose her for a reason. So he agrees to help train her in secret to get her ready for these trials that happen. And they spend all of this time in secret together. And so, sparks fly, and their story kind of goes from there. But it sounds really good, and I have been wanting to read it, but I kept forgetting about it because, to be honest, guys, I've got a closet space that I've been putting some of my books as well. And so I practically forgot I bought this one. It was just another one I saw at Walmart one time. And I was like, wow, that cover looks really cool. And so I read the back of it and it sounded amazing. So, okay, book number 4. I did clean up some of my books a little bit. It's chaotic still, but it's at least an organized chaos. Okay, let's see. Trying to grab one without all of them spilling out again. So, a book with an odd number of pages. So basically, I'm just going to have to find a book that I'm interested in wanting to read and see if it is an odd number of pages. All right, so I'm gonna go with this book. Another book that has been on my TBR for a while. I absolutely love the sprayed edges and the book cover, and the story just sounds really good. It's got 423 pages in it, so it ends in an odd number. And this book's got like pirates and ships, and it just sounds like it's going to be a really good time. So basically, you've got the FMC and her family who have been forced to flee when circumstances happen to her family, and they end up working for this guy at his estate. It was really nice of him to offer it to her, but at the same time, she knows that he is the enemy. He's supposed to be someone who works for the bad guys. So she is very hesitant. Like, you know, he's being very kind and very caring and looking after her and her family. But at the same time, she's been taught her whole life that they're bad guys. And so it's all about her self-discovery of learning that maybe the people that she was taught to fear aren't really the real monsters, and about learning out who those real monsters were. And her family, I guess, had been, in the beginning, had been pirates. They lived out on the sea all the way up until something mysterious happens to her brother when they land at the MMC Will's mansion doorstep, and he offers them refuge and allows them to work at his mansion. I don't know. It sounds like it would be really good and a little bit different. Okay, we got one more book, guys. One more book. Boom. Okay, the strangest cover on your shelf. The strangest cover that I have on my shelf. So I really had to stop and think about what I would consider strange and really think about it. And there was a mix-up between a couple books. So first I had Riftborn, and you know, it's kind of strange, you know, 2 snakes around a dagger and a drop of blood. And then we have Lightlark. Now, originally I was going to go with Riftborn, honestly, because, you know, it just has to be the one that's the strangest on my shelf. And all the other ones, they're not strange. They're cutesy. Some of them have skulls, flowers, pretty covers, things like that, but they weren't strange. But then I was really thinking about it, and I was like, you know, honestly, a dagger with a couple snakes wrapped around it, that's not super strange either. However, a beating heart with roses on it, okay, that's strange. At least the strangest that I have on my shelf. So my final pick for my TBR for the month of November is going to be Lightlark. You have 6 realms that are all cursed, and every 100 years, this island called Lightlark appears, stays around for 100 days, and it hosts these games where people from the 6 realms can come and basically fight to the death, I'm assuming, to have the ability to break their curse. In order to save themselves, a ruler has to die. And then it says right here, to survive, Isla Crown must lie, cheat, betray, even as love complicates everything. And of course, this is book 1 of a series. Another series. My series are piling up. This is one that I had been looking at and had a conversation with somebody at Walmart, and they have read the entire series, and they told me that it was a must buy and that she absolutely loved them. So that sold me on it, and so I picked it up. All right, that concludes all of the books. I am excited. I cannot wait to also chat with you guys all about all of the books that I read for the month of October. That will be my next video coming out. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week, an amazing and safe Halloween, and eat plenty of candy because it's Halloween. It's Snicker night, guys. It's Snicker night. If you're a fan of Snickers, like I am. Anyways, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.